is Amber Rosales Wojnowski, and today I'll be talking about 3 concepts that I think are essential for businesses. The first concept that I feel is essential is process improvement, and this concept could be found in Chapter 7. Process improvement is when a company enhances its procedures. I feel that this is important because it's a concept that is only helpful. I think it's interesting because it can only bring benefit to the company, and I think it could really help a company fulfill its full potential. Process improvement implies that there is something that needs to be changed for the better, and so these changes might be easy to detect. It might be easy for one to see what needs to be changed, but it's not always easy to go about that change. It's not always easy to implement those changes in the most effective way. So what I mean by this is an individual may not train their employees in the best way. Everybody needs to understand the change that's going to happen. Everybody needs to be on board in order for the change to be most effective, I feel. Chapter 7 gave a great diagram that helps companies map this process out. It'll make it easier for them, and everyone can be on board, everyone can follow along, and everyone knows what's to come. So the diagram that was shown in Chapter 7 was the PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. The first is a plan, and this is finding the problem and then finding a solution for that. So seeing what can be changed, what can be added, what can be, what they can do for that. They can plan this out, plan what's going to happen, and how they're going to go about it. Next is do. So this is actually implementing the solution that they came up with in plan. And so this will be putting it in the works, everyone on board, on the same page, and really putting this plan in full motion. Next is check, and that entails reviewing, evaluating the result of the new change. Did it work? Is it a good change? Is it beneficial? Last is act. So this is reflecting, learning from the experience. So I guess this would be seeing if it was beneficial, if it wasn't beneficial, or do we need to go back and start the cycle over again? Do we got to go back to square one and plan, come up with a new plan, come up with a new, solution? So that cycle really helps the businesses stay on track and implement it in the most effective way. The second concept that I feel is essential in Chapter 3 is new service development. New service development is process of developing, analyzing, designing, and launching a new service to customers. And I believe this is very interesting in the workplace because companies should stay up to date with current technology and methods that are being used. I think that's very important for competitive advantage, and it'll really help with their customers. An example that came to my mind was McDonald's. They implemented these self-service stations where they can order their own food, order how they like it, and just do it all themselves without going up to an actual cashier. And I feel like this was a plan that was developed, it was analyzed, and it was designed, and it was launched to customers, because I only see it in a couple McDonald's in certain areas. Not every McDonald's has this. So I think that it's kind of in the works and developing and popping up throughout more and more throughout different McDonald's. So this has the new service develop process in this chapter. The cycle was explained, and it was very thorough and helpful. And I think that is very beneficial for any company, because new things are always in the works, and new technology is always coming up as the years go on. So for the third concept that I feel is essential was from Chapter 6, and this informs us about service quality. So service quality is how good the service is that is provided to the customers. And I think this is very interesting because if service quality goes down, the company may lose customers. An example of this would be my nail salon. This is the first thing that came to my mind. They give us margaritas when we get our nails done, if you're of age. 1 margarita per customer. And recently I believe it was just because of COVID, they stopped giving out the margaritas for a certain period of time. And I feel like a lot of customers were really upset about this, and for that reason, I think their service quality went down a little bit. And I think service quality is very important because it needs to be the best that it could be. Service quality is what makes the customers want to come back and makes them not want to come back if they don't think the service quality is good enough. So I think that's very important and interesting because it kind of links to how well your business does. So for these 3 concepts I talked about, I will relate them to 4 different chapters that I think they are relatable with. So chapter 12 talked about managing waiting lines, and I think that and chapter 4 also talked about, that was chapter 12. Chapter 4 talked about the service encounter, and I think that these 2 chapters relate to the concepts because these can always be improved through process improvement, which we talked about already. And I think that it's very important that these 2 chapters are considered during process improvement. Chapter 2 relates to these 3 concepts because Chapter 2 talks about service strategies, and this relates to new service development in Chapter 3 because there needs to be strategies involved in order for there to be development. And then globalization in Chapter 10 relates to all these concepts because they're used all over the world, and they relate all to one another and can be implemented no matter where you are located. And I think that is all. Thank you for listening.